Alright everybody, today for you I'm going to review the new iClear30B. Unfortunately I didn't get the fancy packaging, I got a little box. I was expecting the fancy packaging after seeing that from others. Got this from myvaporstore.com. Let me go ahead and put the original tip back on it. And trying to get the little condom deal off that tip. Because notice one thing, this tip, it looks like it has a little wider air hole than my other one. Oh, except for the top. You just see it's got a wide bottom and then it goes at the top. So that would prevent juice from coming into your mouth. But yep, there's the iClear30B. I've used the iClear30s before, and this one I thought would be interesting to try and do the bottom coil. You take the bottom off to fill it. The top comes off too for, I guess, cleaning purposes. That would be good. And as you can see here, we're taking the head off the bottom. There's our head. As you can see, it's got the bottom and top coil. This is dual coil. This was a 2.1 ohm coil. I don't know how to do all this right at once for y'all to see. I'm gonna go ahead and, much as I hate it, I kind of like, I'll go ahead and use the rest of my Dr. Pep Thunderhead Vapor. Go ahead and put some of that in there. Real wide filling port. I mean, that makes it real easy to fill. So you wouldn't want to go over the little metal peg there. Try and do as much on camera as we can. Tighten that on down there. That starts soaking there. Here you see on the bottom, it's got the little engraving iClear30B. Variable wattage, variable voltage symbols on it. They're normal. I like the look. Actually, that's one thing I like about the look is just, it's like silver with the black lines. I like the look of that. I'm using a magneto. Got a kick in there. Probably should tone it down, but you know what? I hit everything else I've got at 15 watts. So try another tip just to make sure yes, the other tip, any other tip will work in there. It's just regular 510. I didn't get the swivel tip either. That is hitting good. It tastes good. Let's grab something else to put it on. Just because I'm hitting that at 15 watts, let's go ahead and turn it down a little bit. I've got my ratty old Evic here. It's seen better days. I used this thing for a long time. I cracked the screen. It's kind of being held together and everything on there by tape. Doesn't look the best, but it's not my everyday user anymore. No leakage. I've got no leakage at all. That's a good sign that there's no leaking. Like from my Kanger tanks, I get leaking. No matter what I do, it's going to leak at least a little bit. No matter how I built the coils or whatever. I'll turn this baby on. I'm a wattage kind of person as opposed to voltage. I mean, I usually use everything in watts. This is saying 2 ohm. Let's go ahead with, try a few different settings here. We're going to go ahead and start down at 8 watts. Even at 8 watts, that is putting out a pretty good vapor cloud. It's a good vape. A tank, that is a good vape. Let's go to 9 watts. See if it makes much difference at all. A little more. The flavor's still great. The vapor's coming out good. Put the original tip back on there. Still, that's good. I can really taste it coming through there. The flavor that I'm getting from this, I wasn't expecting it to actually have that good of flavor. It has really good flavor to it. That's 10 watts. Still, good flavor. Good hit. It's not feeling burnt or nothing. I'm getting surprised. I'm maxing my EVIC to 11. I went to 11 watts. Damn. Go in there. Kind of feels like this might be getting a little dry at the end of that. A little dry at the end of those. And that's 11 watts, so maybe about 10. I think would probably be a good max for this thing. Still no leakage. Yeah, I can hear a little bit of gurgle, but you're going to get that pretty much from the bottom coil. I don't see anybody being able to eliminate a little bit of gurgle because the coil's sitting in the juice the entire time, but it's still back with the kick, back to 15. I mean, I can kind of taste a little burning there with 15 watts. I think it's a bit much for it. Yeah, I think 10 is probably about the sweet spot for this tank. In my opinion, of course. I mean, everybody's going to have a different opinion on what they want to do with it. Put it back to 10 watts. Yeah, I mean, that's a perfect spot right there. Perfect dynamite spot for me is going to be that 10 watts. It looks like it's going to be very easy to clean, take apart and clean. The airflow. Airflow to me, it feels almost like a Kanger. I think one of the Pro Tanks, it feels about like that. It'd be slightly tighter, which I usually use drippers, so it's a lot tighter than a 1/8 hole or something like that. It's pretty good. This is a good buy. I got it from myvaporstore.com. I think it was about $18. I had to check. I'll go ahead and put the link for them in the description. I'll go ahead and put a link for Thunderhead Vapor too. This is their Dr. Pep I got from my sample box. I'll go ahead and throw that down there too. Where are you at? Okay. Go down under new product. No pop-ups. Sure they got the heads for this one in my vapor store too. Remember, you're not going to get the big fancy package, which upsets me. I wanted the fancy package. Okay, iClear30B bottom coil, $14.99. I thought it's cheaper than I thought it was. So getting it this way doesn't have the swivel tip, but it works great. For me, I'm not too worried about the swivel tip. For me, it just doesn't matter because it's bottom coil, so you're not going to have to worry about tilting at the top. Feed at the top, it's bottom coil. So no matter what direction it's going to be facing, those coils are getting juice unless you're vaping like this, which would be a little ridiculous anyway. yeah, the swivel tip is not necessary for this. You know, they've got all the different colors: smoke black, clear, green, yellow, blue, purple. Just clear. They have heads for these. I'm sure you can buy replacement heads. $250 per head. And they have a varied range. This is what's on the box. 1.5 ohm, 1.8 ohm, and 2.1 ohm. This is the 2.1. Showing here on 2, so it's probably like a high 2. I'd have to box that one, but it works good. Getting a good clean vape out of it, getting good vapor production out of it, which really surprised me. Like I said, for me, my preference is going to be 10 watts for this. Yeah, 15 from my Cape 2 is pushing it a bit far. I think it's a bit dry. I don't want to ruin this coil. This is a really thin liquid too, so you know, I kind of expected it to leak, and nada. It's dry. The bottom is dry. Cap is dry. It's dry, man. There's no leaking. Which, if anything changes, I'll probably make a follow-up review. But if it doesn't, I would highly recommend this. I would highly recommend this tank. It is working great. It's working great. Tastes great. It hits great. Doesn't leak. A bottom coil that doesn't leak? Are you nuts? I mean, there's a small gurgle too. A small, not a heavy gurgle, just a little bit. And it's not there the entire time. Yeah, this is Heretic Vapor doing my review with iClear30B. If you ain't got one already, I'd suggest to go out and get one. I really would. I don't think anybody would be disappointed with having one of these. And that was my review of the iClear30B. And yeah, vape on.